Good morning, Bells Falls, and welcome to the feed. Here we are, May 9th, a new day, a new system here at the feed.
A new member.
A new member. We have Marty Bear, our newest MC, helping us out. Going to do a little work with the local events, and then we'll go on and talk to Justin. We're having a little bit of getting used to things today. We have a new HD switcher here at the feed, and we haven't quite worked out all the bugs from it, and so we don't have a monitor, so we're sort of going on Alex's hand signals, and Alex hasn't had time to really automate the show, so he's out there like the puppet master doing all the switching and everything manually. So it could be an interesting show, but for future reference, it's HD cameras we have. We have 3 HD cameras. They can pan and zoom independently, and it can be done from outside the studio, which is a big improvement, and it actually gives us a much higher quality picture. And I hear, although it's hard to believe, that we will be taller and more
thinner.
handsome
I've
and
heard
appear more
thinner.
intelligent. I hear.
Appear more intelligent.
That's right, because that's what HD does.
Oh.
So,
Gotcha.
Marty.
Yes, I know. I have to. The way these eyes are set up, I have to like turn my whole head.
Do you have any local events?
I do have some local events, and I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm not too muffled. The reason I'm wearing this today is this is one of the very unique and very fun prizes that you can win if you go to the local Rotary Club, Bells Falls Rotary Club's annual penny sale, which is this Saturday night at the Bells Falls Union High School. I have to take this off.
Yeah, you
Ugh.
do.
Woo, it's hot under there. The Bells Falls Union High School. Doors open at 5:30. The actual first round goes off at 6 o'clock, and there's 300 prizes that you can win. This is only an example of one, but there's lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gift certificates. There's artwork. There's practical items, household items, glassware, cookware, books. There's a lot of books. There's
Gift certificates.
tons and tons of things. You buy a ticket for $1.
Mm-hmm.
Your ticket goes into the bin, and you have 100 chances to win. Because even if you win something, like if you won this, your ticket would go back in for that round. So within that round, you have 100 chances to win for each dollar that you spend.
That's great.
We want you to spend lots of
Dollars, because all the money goes where?
It goes right back into the community, into the scholarship fund. Rotary gives scholarships to local graduating high school students, and this is how we fund it. So literally, the money that we make goes back into the community. It goes back in to support the local high school kids and other projects that we do in the community.
So a couple other events going on. With this tonight, Village Square Booksellers is doing the classic movie series, and they're doing Jazz Loft, which is about the jazz scene in New York between I think 1957 and 1965. So it's supposed to be an incredibly good sort of documentary plus music. So if you want to get out and do something cultural this evening,
Well, you should have been dressed in your little jazz
I know I should
costume
have
with
been
your little
in my beret and my beatnik outfit
Yes.
and my little beatnik
We didn't
beard.
tell you it was dress up day, did we, Justin?
Nope.
No, I had
Did
no
you want
idea.
to? Did you want to wear this today? You're welcome to.
And then finally, for our local events, is Charlotte's Web is coming up this weekend at the at Main Street Arts.
Mm-hmm.
This is a commemorative thing.
It's one of the first productions that Main Street Arts ever did. So yeah, I guess commemorative would be the
yeah.
right term.
So it's like the very first production they did was Charlotte's Web. They're bringing back Charlotte's Web to commemorate that, but there, I guess, are people who were in the original production are in this.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah,
didn't
so
realize
it should
that.
be a
So
lot of
that's awesome.
fun. David Stern's out there doing his
Thing.
So have fun. Go to Charlotte's Web. Come to the penny sale. Learn about jazz. Watch us in HD.
Win a bear head,
Win a beer head.
which
What
actually
else?
has a pretty good sight line out of it, except for in the middle. But
Yeah.
I think it should be. I think this should be the new Fact TV mascot. Maybe
Well,
Alex can go to the
It
penny
is certainly
sale.
the biggest attention getter.
It's probably the most unique gift we've ever had.
Yeah, I
with
think
the penny
so.
sale. So
So that's cool. But we digress.
we digress as always.
But we have one of our favorite guests today, and it's probably one of your favorite times of year because we're getting out of winter and into spring, and things are popping up all over
Oh,
the place.
that it definitely is a favorite time of year for me. I mean, I think for a lot of us, I've seen a lot of smiles on people's faces in the last week
Yeah.
or so with the warm weather, and finally, it's a little late this year, so it really feels good. But yeah, particularly for me, I really love just going out and being able to see all these new things coming up and finding new plants and
The fact that there's actually green out there now.
yeah, that
It's
makes
nice. I was just thinking of that, looking at that there's no more brown. Well, there's still brown, but there's
There's
a lot
no
more
problem,
green.
but it's really going fast.
It's yeah, it's I mean like already like the fiddleheads are up and like too big to eat in some places.
Really?
Like
Wow.
yeah, I mean it's just like this heat, everything has just been waiting for it. So as as we've discussed before, I'm a big fan of incorporating wild foods into the diet for the advantages of nutrient density. Like many of our cultivated plants, we've bred them to a degree where they grow bigger, but they don't necessarily have as many minerals and nutrients as their wild counterparts. And another thing about wild foods is that it helps to really learn about the complexity of nature and just like how incredible it is, like how many different plants and animals we have out there. And, every time I go out, it just kind of puts me in awe of like everything that's going on, and like how it just, all intermeshes. So a couple of my favorites I brought in today.
Did you go out last night and?
I went out. These were from the dandelions I picked yesterday, but the ramps are from Monday.
Wow, they really keep, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, and these are nicely washed. See if we can get something for the camera. But so this is wild lakes, or also known as ramps, and it's a type of onion or garlic. And this, of course, we can't transfer the smell via the
Yeah, you could really
Smell-o-vision.
smells like.
but very distinctive smell. Not really any lookalikes to worry about in the woods. Particularly, there's some things that the leaves may look slightly similar, but nothing's going to have
Yeah.
this
Right.
aroma to it.
And is the edible part only the bottom part, or
No,
can
you
do
can
something
eat the
with
whole thing,
leaves?
and so with this, there's some controversy as far as the sustainability. Some people only will pick the top part because
Because you're taking the whole
The
plant.
root bulb.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
but there's a couple ways around that. I mean, for one, like I picked these whole because this came from a very large patch where there's several acres, literally acres of these, and
just growing wild, like they
growing
weren't, they
wild.
weren't planted.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they're not. Yeah, and they tend to like rich woods with quite a bit of moisture. There's always like a decent amount of moisture, and I think relatively undisturbed woods, like woods that haven't been
Forested or
cut too recently. And so, if you're finding a small patch, it's a good idea to just pick it and leave the bulb to regrow. Or there's a little, just like at the bottom of a clove of garlic or onions, there's like a little,
something breaking off.
there's like root hairs coming off.
okay, yeah.
You can also break this off above that, and these were of course broken off for eating, and either leave that crown in the ground or pick the whole thing and then break that off and replant the crown. So that's another way to help manage the patch. I mean, as with any foraging, it's really a good idea to pick no more than maybe 10% of any given population, and if it's a very small population, don't harvest it at all. So with ramps that are a wild species here, following that rule is a good idea.
Well, for sustainability.
For
like, if you wanna
sustainability.
have 'em, like I know people like with fiddleheads and stuff like that, they'll not, wipe out the whole.
Right. Well, some people do and some people don't, and that's the thing with buying it, like buying them off the side of the road. Like with the fiddleheads, like the fern cluster, usually will maybe have like up to 10 potential fiddleheads, and so a good idea with that is to maybe take 2 or 3 of those and let them and leave the rest to grow. And that's where I can be a little bit skeptical sometimes when you have someone who's just got this giant bag on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Are they doing that, or are they just taking them all off? And it's not going to kill the fern the first year, but over time, if that keeps
Right.
happening, it's not going to be able to
sustain
reproduce.
it, yeah.
And yeah, and those leaves are how it's making its energy. So if it never gets to unfurl its leaves, and so that's another reason why I also like eating weed type of plants, like plants that are introduced to the area, that aren't native. Like one that I don't have here today, but it's an excellent green, and I think people may know it, called garlic mustard.
Oh, really?
It's got these
Yeah.
white
Yes,
flowers, and
yeah.
you see it on like roadside banks, and
It's
so
a wicked invasive, right?
super invasive.
Yeah.
And we don't want to harvest off a roadside, but it's also in plenty of areas where it's relatively clean, and that makes an excellent pesto. It's got a spiciness like the ramps, but it's unlike the ramps. It's not native. We've got tons of it, and you can basically just cut it off, strip the leaves off the stems, and throw them in a food processor and use that alone or with other greens like basil, to make a really tasty
Right,
pesto.
right.
Isn't that something I learned one time that a lot of times you'll find the garlic mustard around certain trees, and they can choke the tree out, can't they? So wouldn't you be doing like a environmentally good thing if you were utilizing the
Oh
garlic
yeah,
mustard?
yeah, and it's a better, eating an invasive seems to me like a better idea than poisoning it,
Right.
because
Yeah.
you're not.
That's I've seen several shows about that recently. That's how, like the more progressive way to deal with any invasive is if there's a way to eat it.
Right, like in
like
some
fish even. And,
fish and nutria, those big like rat-like
those rat-
rodents. It's like, well, if you can't beat them, eat them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm drawing the line at that one.
Well,
I'll do I'll do
if
the.
you
I'll
didn't
do the
know it was a rat-like rodent, if they told you it was
chicken.
nutria, yeah, doesn't that sound good? Nutria,
Right.
It's like nutritious.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I mentioned that because they're dealing with a lot of them in Italy right now.
Oh, really?
And so there's like a mayor of this town who's just like, oh yeah, they're really good, describing like different recipes for them and stuff because they're like, they're
What are you
getting
gonna do with them?
overrun by.
Because I
these
thought they
things.
were really in the South. They're really
They're really
yeah,
big in the south of
yeah,
this country, and apparently Italy's got them too. I
Yeah,
don't
so
even know
if you
where
ever go to California again, you get nutria, the new nutrient-rich meat. You'll know.
Okey
I'm sure they'll rebrand it with a different name.
Yeah, really.
We need the clacker again.
Let's go
Here
back
we go.
to garlic scapes. No.
Garlic-
Ramps, I mean.
Yeah.
So, what can you do with the ramps? Pesto also, but
You can definitely do a pesto with these, and with the greens and the white parts. It's very spicy alone. So
If you like boil them or
you don't know, just raw. You can just grind them up. I mean, they also saute really nicely. They're great sautéed as a side dish or on top of a steak or stuff
yeah.
like that.
I know a lot of times in the past couple years I've noticed it. They just kind of come into vogue because
They're super like
I was gonna
quiche
say
and
yeah, because I was gonna
yeah.
say a lot of times this time of year you go into restaurants and it's blah 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 with garlic scape blah blah blah.
or with ramps.
yeah, and I hear
ramps,
that
sorry,
even
I'm saying.
The garlic scapes.
Yeah, again,
even
garlic skip in my
even
brain.
here where they're can be picked pretty close by, I hear that they're like $10 to $15 a pound is what they're going for, like at wholesale at restaurants.
Wow.
So I can't even imagine what chefs in New York City are paying, when they're being hauled down from Vermont and other places. So definitely this is one of those ones that's considered a delicacy. Some of our wild foods, it's like
Like dandelions.
you can eat it, but it's and
Dandelion, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
they're not considered a delicacy
they're not
anymore.
and
they're considered
not.
a weed.
And but the dandelions go really nicely with ramps in a pesto because dandelion is not as sharp. It's more of a bitter and kind of a sweet. So that's a nice balancing for a ramp pesto, or just a pesto of dandelion on its own. It makes a very mild. It doesn't have any of that spice. A very mild spread that's great on sandwiches. And dandelion is definitely underappreciated and highly nutritious. And particularly for this time of year, the leaves really help stimulate the kidneys and flush the kidneys. It's a strong diuretic. So that can potentially be a good thing after a winter of like accumulating, not as
Yeah,
much movement.
it's like a
stuff that-
cleansing.
Yeah, cleansing, and then the root of dandelion supports the liver. So the two combined, you're helping to support two organs of elimination, which can be really nice.
And maybe I heard this from you, but I thought I heard that the roots of dandelions were originally one of the ingredients in root beer. Did you ever hear that? You know, that
I
yeah,
think
no,
that's
I
probably
know.
true.
Yeah.
I'm not positive. I mean, like the main flavoring of root beer, I think, was sassafras or
Oh, okay.
sarsaparilla, but a lot of different roots were incorporated.
Oh,
like I
okay.
think burdock root and the roasted dandelion roots make a really nice coffee substitute. There's
Oh,
even some
yeah.
commercially available coffee substitutes that use.
Don't even say the word coffee and substitute in the same sentence.
I know it doesn't
It's
because it's
very-
not
It's very
substituting.
disturbing to me.
It's
I'm
not
just
substituting
saying.
The
what we all
caffeine.
want. The
Exactly.
stimulant part of it. so-
Exactly. I've tried to do those coffee substitutes before and they suck.
I agree.
So explain to me. So if someone were going out and they saw dandelions in their yard or a dandelion patch, you want to look for this small. Those look like smaller leaves. The
Relatively small, preferably before the blossoms bloom, which of course
Okay.
doesn't take long. They're already
Yeah,
starting to. They
yeah.
just get
Yeah.
more bitter when the.
and you're saying the root. So you want to pull the whole
Well,
dandelion
I mean,
out, or
I haven't done any root digging this year. You can, but predominantly in the spring I use the leaves because in the fall is when the root will be richest in inulin, which is that prebiotic fiber. It's known as a prebiotic fiber. It provides food for our probiotic bacteria in our guts. And typically roots are. There's a lot of exceptions, but typically roots
are better in the fall.
in the fall when
because
the
they've been-
plant has put all
they've
its
been
energy
storing it.
into it,
Yeah.
Okay.
or early spring. So I mean, it is early enough in spring that you could harvest the roots if you wanted
Okay.
them. But I typically focus on the leaves this time of year, especially because also, where we live, we haven't had access to fresh greens,
Right, yeah.
especially ones that haven't traveled 3,000 miles. And so that's another, there's an economic benefit to wildcrafting in that, it's free food. Like with the garlic mustard, you can easily harvest huge bunches of that and make pesto, or also you can do it as a steamed green that comes out really nicely. Same with dandelions, and it's free, nutritious.
I was gonna say you can be fairly safe in identifying it, correct? I mean, dandelions obviously everyone knows what
Dandelions.
And the
look
ramps,
like.
too.
And the ramps.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, and it's always, it's always good. Yeah, I mean, these things are ones that are all pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like the one somewhat look-alike for the ramps has 3 leaves to it. It's called Clintonia. Instead of the 2 leaves, but you would quickly realize
'Cause
that
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
have
have
the-
a
yeah.
garlicky smell.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
so
it
I
also
mean,
doesn't look like a leek. It doesn't have or a scallion. It
looks like
doesn't
an
have
onion.
the
right. I mean,
yeah.
it's right, exactly. So I mean, especially for starting out, it's definitely worth it to go for ones that are easy to identify. And then, because also, I find that like when you're starting out, you're so excited. It's easy to and this is true for mushroom identification too. It's very easy to
See what you want to see, or
right, or just want it to be
Yeah.
something, and kind of overlook key features to want it to be
Yeah.
key features.
good for you. So, so that's always
That's one way to put it.
a huge caveat. And then, of course, the environmental issue of generally a good rule of thumb is a minimum of 50 feet away from
a road.
road. And, some people would say 100 feet from a paved road, 50 feet from a dirt road. Railroad tracks, they spray a lot of pesticides on those,
Yeah, yeah.
staying away from that. And so, particularly in our area where we have a lot of railroads and stuff, I mean, that's definitely something to pay attention to, especially since the railroad runs along the
Not
river
near-
where a lot of the fiddleheads are,
Yeah.
I mean, I've run into that where there's a lot of nice fiddleheads, but they're kind of close to the tracks, and it's really not.
Something you want to be doing.
Yeah, it's not ideal because I mean, of course,
Yeah, because you can't really wash that off. Right.
right,
Yeah.
right. But of course, I mean, there's how pure you want to be, but then there's also the fact of we don't really know where a lot of our food
I
is
know.
grown either, and
where it's come from and how it got
and if
there.
it's near a power plant or
Yeah,
who
yeah.
knows, so you have to find your own balance for yourself, but definitely good idea to kind of like watch those things, and if you have an idea of the history of a site that you're picking from, and of course in Vermont we have plenty of places that are relatively untouched, but there's also brownfields and stuff too.
So another thing I heard is that if you eat local wild vegetables or greens or food that you gather, chances are it'll help you with allergies, local pollen allergies. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah, kind
it
of the same,
actually
the same
builds-
idea of using local honey, because you're getting the
Yeah, where you're getting the
Antibodies, right?
exposure to the.
Because a lot of people, right, I mean, especially, you know, we both are in and around the gym all the time, and people are like, oh, my allergies are killing me now. And maybe if they were out and about, and maybe.
Yeah, and getting more exposure, and you know, some of the things that come out now too, like for instance this one in particular is called wood nettle, which is a native woodland plant, but closely related to stinging nettle, and both make an excellent edible when they're boiled. The little stinging hairs, when they're boiled, will just like fold up, and they won't sting you anymore. And it makes a tasty and really nutritious green. It beats spinach out of the water as far
really?
as mineral content. It's very rich in protein.
3 minutes. Sorry,
And
we have no monitor, so
Yeah.
But also, a cool thing with nettle is that it's excellent for allergies, particularly when it's in its fresh state. So that could be, like when it's used medicinally like that, I would take these and soak them in vodka or an alcohol water mixture.
there you
All
go.
right.
Nettle martini.
Well,
No, I know.
the
It's a
reason you
tincture.
need the fresh is there's constituents that when it's dried disappear as far as the antihistaminic action. There's also a company, I mean, because this isn't something you can do at home, is freeze-dried nettles. So they freeze-dry them and then powder them and cap them to preserve those same properties without having to
Oh, interesting.
use alcohol.
Yeah.
So you know, here it is allergy season, and here what do we have growing? Something that can help with that. So you know, there's a kind of an elegance to that like.
And I'm just gonna guess that perhaps if you address your allergies in that natural manner, you don't have the side effects of allergy. Can allergy medication make you really
I'm
drowsy?
drowsies
And
yeah. Well, it's funny because the reason I say this, I was watching the news this morning, and they have a section on. You know, they always have this little local health section, and this doctor came on and said, "Well, you're having allergies. What you should do is stay inside and turn on your air conditioner."
oh my God!
And it was like, or maybe you could go outside. You know, it's sort of like this is how we deal. You know, instead of dealing
We
with it, like
isolate.
trying
Instead of
to
dealing it,
yeah,
we'll just-
it was like, and put your children inside and have them put on the air conditioner. And it was like,
So we're
okay.
we-
So were we 3 minutes out from
I think
showing
we're-
the clip?
I'm
or
guessing 3 minutes out from the clip.
End of the picture.
1 minute
One
from the clip.
out
We
from
got to
the
wrap
clip.
it up.
So-
So how do people contact you, Justin?
At sweetflagmedicinals@gmail.com or 802-257-9910. And I also wanted to put a quick plug in. I'm going to be doing mushroom walks this summer, and there'll be sign-ups at the gym, I believe.
Yep.
Right.
And so anyone in the Rockingham, Bellows Falls area that is interested in doing a mushroom walk, feel free to email me or give me a call or stop by the gym and look for a sign-up sheet.
Because the best way to do this, actually, if we talk about this, but the best way to do it is to go out in the woods with Justin, and he can
Learn.
show you these things and say, well, this is this, and this is that, and this is what it's used
And
for.
seeing it in the ground
Yeah.
really is
It
helpful
makes a whole
and
different.
Makes it better.
in the environment.
Yeah. So thank you, Justin. And,
Thanks.
I'm
Thank you.
hoping we'll see you again next month when maybe it won't be mushroom time yet, but it'll be
something.
something. All right. Thanks a lot. And
We're going to a clip.
we're going to a clip, and that's it for the feed this week. Thank you. Hopefully next week we'll have a monitor and we'll be able to see where we're going and we'll know what's going on.
It's like flying blind.
Yeah, it's always something every week, but
Hey.
we like that. So bye,
Bye,
Bellows
community.
Falls. See you. We don't know whether we're on the clip yet, but we might be because we don't know. Because it's not pointing at us yet,
any kind of signal.
but we might be at the clip. And now we're going
now
to
we're
the.
at
Are we?
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't see.
That's it, folks, for the feed. Be sure to catch us every Wednesdays at 7:30 a.m. Also, find us on Facebook at Fact TV tell us what you think. thefeed8@gmail.com. And don't forget to watch the feed online at www.fact8.com.
Hear ye, hear ye, the Bellas Falls annual penny sale will be in Bellas Falls on Saturday, May 12th at the Bellas Falls Union High School. Doors open at 5:30. First drawing at 6.
Good, that is so good. You were framed right up. We had you right in the camera. Now I need you to do it one more time.
One more time.
With a little bit more feeling.
Okay.
A little bit more feeling.
Okay.
We need some
All
good
right.
feeling.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Bellas Falls annual roadie sale. Saturday, May 12th.
Perfect. That is perfect. We got you in perfect frame. We got the sound is really good, but I need you to do it with like a little more feeling. Like you got to emote. Just a
Gotcha,
little bit more. a little
gotcha,
bit more.
gotcha. Bellas Falls annual Rotary penny sale. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Marty, what are you doing?
You told me to advertise with the town crier.
But I thought that was a newspaper.
Oh, the newspaper. Sorry, Tom, you're out. On Saturday, May 12th for the annual Bells Falls Rotary Penny Sale. How's it work, Tom?
Okay, 3 series, cost you $1. That gives you the opportunity to win 100 prizes. You win one, your ticket goes back in. It'll be 3 series.
One
So
ticket for
one
100
ticket,
prizes.
One ticket for each series will give you 100 chances for 100 gifts.
300 prizes in all.
300 prizes
What
in
do we
all.
have for prizes, Rainey? You're the main prize getter.
We have a kayak and a bicycle. We have a nice gas grill. We have tons and tons of raffle gift certificates.
Cash money, I hear.
Oh, lots of cash. You can win $500.
Rachel Ray cookware,
Oh, lots of Rachel Wade.
stuffed animals,
Yes.
all kinds of great things. So Saturday, May 12th at the Bells Falls